Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to discuss about Olvanism, a religion that is very, very old. Let's begin. What is Olvanism? Olvanism is a religion devoted to the worship of Olius, the lord of death and the afterlife. Olius is another one of the oldest gods out there, with writings of him dating all the way back from 50,000 to 40,000 of the first era. Fun fact, Elise is said to have created chocolate and another sweet food known as gaufad, or gofad. He is also credited with inventing a form of magical corn, which would later become known as popcorn. Some practices include of the religion daily sacrifices of humans, elves, or vermani, which are the three types of races that people can be in my universe. 2 worshiping sessions per day. So basically, you gotta worship him twice a day. Breaking at least one bone every 2 years. This is done to basically show your worth and show your strength and your devotion to the religion, to Olius in particular. And then straight up just cannibalism. Though it's not an official, practice that Olius likes, it's very much supported and is a practice that many people do. Fun fact, though only one sacrifice is needed, Olvanism rewards those who deliver more than one sacrifice. So it basically rewards those who are able to kill more. Fun fact, in Olvanism, it is considered an honorable act to allow oneself to be eaten by another, especially by a pregnant woman. So basically, sacrificing yourself to be eaten by someone else. This is seen as more of an honorable act by some people, especially if you've strayed away from the religion, so you did some stuff you weren't supposed to, and this was kind of like a way of being forgiven. Here are some of what Olvanist worshippers believe in. Men should kill and women should carry on the man's dynasty. So essentially, men should kill, men should be strong, and women are only there to continue on the man's dynasty. This means that oftentimes, if a woman only has female children, she'll oftentimes be killed and eaten. So, Olius will get his revenge for what the Chiton did to him. You see, in this religion, they believe that Olius was betrayed by the Chiton, and Olius used to believe in good, but they don't believe in good anymore because of what good actually does. They basically believe that good is bad, and bad is good, if you get what I mean. The weak are intended to die, or be used to strengthen the strong. So essentially put, they basically believe that this is a world where only the strongest should survive. Basically put, the weak need to either die for the strong, die by the strong, or serve the strong. Olius will regain his former power and more. Basically put, they feel like Olius's power had been stripped away from him forcefully, and now that he's going to eventually get that power back, and when he gets that power back, he's going to do like an invasion of whoever knows. It depends on which person you're talking about. He also believes that everyone who worships him gets rewarded once he gets his power back. So since he would eventually become the lord of the afterlife, he'll treat his worshippers very well. Who is Olius? Olius was the god of death and the afterlife. For his early life, he was a Chaita. A Chaita is basically a god or a deity who is a part of the Chaitan. The Chiton did not consider death as a tragedy, or Olius's titles to be inherently evil, as death was/is seen by the Chiton as a process of change, where a good soul could be reborn into a new body. So basically, they kind of think of it as like recycling the life cycle. Oleus's form was that of a pale-skinned, white-haired man who had compassion, generosity, and empathy. However, as time progressed, Oleus became more and more delusioned with the goodness of the Chiton as time progressed. Now, as you're going to see, one of the main reasons is because at least they believe, and somewhat rightfully so, that they had basically betrayed Oleus and took power away from him, which he deserved in their eyes. No holidays. Yeah, Olvanism is one of the religions where there really is no holiday. The closest to this is a dance that is performed once every 4 months. So at least 3 times a year, which is known as the Tikba dance. In the Tikba dance, people wearing the bones of animals and people dance around before a massive feast begins, which often includes cannibalism. Afterwards, the people worship Oleus for an hour straight, summon and dance with some of his skeletons before the dance and the feast is over. So this isn't a like holiday per se because it happens multiple times a year, but it's the closest thing they actually get to like a religious holiday. History. Back in the days of old, back when gods frequently created and destroyed one's enemies' realms, where millions of soldiers often died in brutal battles, and where no life could be sustained, a small group formed, the Chiton. The first founder was Dathan, who took the title Lord of Loyalty, Order, and Justice, with his wife Aquedome taking the title Lordess of Life and Creation. Then there was Oleus, whom was not in blood brothers with Dathan, but in almost every other way he was. Oleus soon took the title Lord of Death and the Afterlife. Oleus enjoyed his position, as he could have a full say in the control of the souls of those whom had perished. He had been so intelligent with his magic that he found a way to gather power from the bodies of the dead and the souls of the afterlife, thus giving him a surge of power that he intended to keep. So as you can see, he really is more greedy than he really is about, being good. And this is kind of like what they believe. They believe that good is just a stupid idea. Morality is very poor, dumb, and it only holds people back. That's what they believe. However, both Dathan and Aquedome, as the Chiton grew and more gods and deities joined their ranks, they realized how incapable Oleus was at managing two such titles properly. Thus, after finding a deity who only referred to himself as the sole caretaker, they held their vote. After the majority of the council voted, they decided to remove Oleus's power from his title, the Lord of the Afterlife. Oleus relucted, but soon enough he was coerced into going through the removal for the good of the Chiton. After that, however, he lost considerable power as he was no longer able to use the magic off of any soul. Ever since then, he has always had a grudge against his once brother and sister, hoping to eventually gain it back through any means necessary. So at this point, he feels weak and he feels betrayed. However, he still is, he feels like ultimately it's for the good right now. Even after the Chiton compensated him with the complete management control of the dead who pledged their souls to any Chiton, he still didn't enjoy it. It wasn't enough for him. Thus, he went to a god whom he considered a friend, and his name was Madoka, whom was the lord of all things knowledge. Madoka taught him all sorts of spells, from destruction type to conjuration type, and one of these times I should do a video on different magic types and magic stuff, because it's kind of, I wouldn't say complicated, but there's a good amount of magic. It's very important in my fantasy universe. Maruka taught him all sorts of spells, the most important of which was necromancing. He then puts his magic to the test, eventually learning how to extract magic and power from the bodies of the dead. Then things got worse when he was sent to investigate a plot known as the Diabella plot by Aquadome and Dathan, who had begun to treat him as a second. My bad. Who began to treat him as a secondary. Eventually, he caught Diabella, future Lordess of Betrayal and Plots, scheming with Drakol, the Lord of Curses and Corruption. However, instead of fighting them or exposing them, he made a deal with Drakol. So as you can see, now that he's had his power taken away and this he's starting to feel more and more like almost in his views a slave or worker to Dathan and Aquadome, he wants his power back, so he makes a deal with Drakol. In return for taking Oleus's skin and hair, Drakol would grant Oleus a surge of magical power. Oleus took the deal. However, as Drakol gave him this power, suddenly, Drakol began to take over his body. The fight between the two of them would be fierce and bloody, but eventually, Oleus managed to win, running away with his power intact. With this, he began to wear the skins of others to deceive the Chiton. However, Apollyon, the then Lord of Construction, discovered his true identity and managed to get him banished. Oleus, however, had managed to create, before this, a small icy island in the middle of Neuron, Earth, where he escaped to, surrounding it in a magical barrier to prevent any major invasion. Eventually, thousands of years later, he made a demand to Apollyon, demanding that he would send the dead bodies of Apollon's recently created people. There were many other demands which were intended to spark a response. Basically put, Oleus was baiting Apollyon into a harsh response by harsh treatments. As you can see with this, after making the deal, he basically goes and deceits the Chiton. Eventually, he is banished, and this is when he basically goes full megalomaniac and that stuff. After Apollyon refused, with which Oleus had wanted, Oleus responded by invading his realm, slaughtering every single soldier in sight. The wreck would severely damage Apollon's reputation and show off the world that of the power that Oleus held. Afterwards, there was no turning back. Oleus had chosen his path. So, contrary to most religions, the history of Olvanism is actually mostly real. Most of the story did actually happen, though there's a lot of glorification of his actions and missing context. So, basically, they make Oleus seem like a victim only, which is only partially true. Falsehoods. The only real falsehood in the is the Apollyon invasion. He did kill many soldiers, but they leave out the fact that he nearly slaughtered the entire of Apollon's population. Because at this point, Apollyon had definitely become a shaitan, he was evil, but he wanted to create his own race of people, and so he begun that. Oleus nearly killed each and every one of them. This shocked many, many gods, even some of the more evil ones, which included Villicus Octavia, even the Lord of Seven Sins was shocked at the true destruction of Oleus's wrath, which is funny because he's one of the most evil of all of them. This ruined Oleus's reputation forever, while making many sympathetic to Apollon's cause. That is it. I hope you enjoyed watching slash listening to this video. You already know the buzz. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff. Comment on what you think of this video. If you have anything to say, of course, do that. Check out my community posts. I'll be sure to, um, revive them because I haven't been doing them in a little while, so I'm thinking about doing some more community posts. That's it. So, see you all another time.